Hello, Brittany.
Hi, Roy. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. It's good to see you virtually.
It's always good to see you and that $1,000,000 smile.
And hello out there, all of you that are watching live. Hello, all of you out there who are catching this in the recording. Just to give us a little context of who's out there, go ahead and in the chats if you want to say who you are, what salon you're from, or where you're watching from. Brittany and I have a great presentation for you. You can see on the screen, it says the blow dry perfected. And Brittany, I am glad to talk about all things blow dry with you and styling.
Me too. I mean, for me, the blow dry is the best part of any hairstyle. You can do the world's best haircut, but if the blow dry isn't right, it can make or break it. So I'm really excited to do this class too. I love a good blowout.
That's true. That's true. So let's see what we're going to do today. All right. So here is the agenda. We will talk about the round brush blow dry full set. We'll, of course, go over some terms and references. We'll see a demo in the form of a film. We also want to take a minute to talk about round brush blow dry partial set. We'll talk about the terms and references and another demo, and then we'll close.
Awesome. I'm excited.
So, Brittany, we've got our first slide up, and I know I always look to you for style influence. What do you think is the biggest difference between a partial set and a full set, look-wise?
To me, it's the finish, it's all about the length. So for me, a partial set is for somebody who wants a bit more of like a smoother end, not quite as bouncy, where the full set is going to give you like that big voluminous, vixen hair. So it's just about the finish. Like they both have the same amount of volume. It's just about the detail and what you're really looking for. So for me, like the full set is something that I would do for any type of event, something that I want to stay the longest amount of time, whereas a partial is a bit more lived in and a bit more everyday style. How about you?
Yeah, I love these two looks. I also like the partial set for, I always think of it kind of like an advanced blow dry in the salon. So when you want to get a little bit more out of a typical salon style and, get more lift, or like you said, get more finishing done, the partial set is a great way to go. And the full set, anything formal, anytime someone has an event to go to, is always a great go-to. Oh, it looks like we have people joining us here from Cole Salon. Hello, hello. Blondie Salon. Hi out there. Glad you guys are joining us. And as we move along, if you guys have questions, comments, feel free to drop it in the chat.
Also, to touch on that partial set again, it's really great for those clients that have a hard time with any type of hold in their hair. Like if it, like a wave won't stay, a set is a good way to kind of really drill in those products and let it cool down so that volume and style will stay a bit longer. For the
That's right.
Hair.
So first up, we've got our round brush blow dry full set. So let's look at some images. Let's talk about the full set. As always, you mentioned getting hold in the partial. The first step to getting any style to last would be product application. And just to take you through some of the slides from left to right, you can see we always use primer on the hair. You can see in the slide, she's using tonic. I imagine she's using tonic just to get a little bit of tea tree oil on the ends, just to soften those a bit. I also like the direction of where she's pointing that product. So when they think about a set, making a style last, oftentimes you want to use product that is going to last, but not so much product that it's going to kill your style. So I'm noticing that her application's kind of a little bit more mid-shaft and probably ends, so she gets that tea tree oil where she needs it. Also, next up for the hold, so we've got our primer. Next, we're looking for a structure product, and she's using Full Form Mousse. Full Form Mousse is a great way to get coverage with product in that like golf ball size foam. So you can get the coverage, you can get your brush in, you can get your pre-dry done, and lastly, she's using Repair Blow Dry, probably to soften the ends. You know, we've got primer, structure, and a blow dry cream. We want to make sure that all of those products are evenly distributed so that when we go in with our brush isn't getting tangled and you get a smooth glide. Now, Brittany, these products on the slide are just suggestions. Do you have go-to products for the full set?
I do. My go-to products are usually a tonic. I do love the tonic for sets. And I really love the styling cream. I think that the styling cream at the root really creates like that hold. And you know how when that heat hits it, it just kind of expands and gives you a bit more density to the hair. I love that feeling. So I'll use those two for sure. And then just depending on what the ends are doing, I'll switch between like a repair or somebody's hair is a little bit finer. Maybe it's just the primer or the Great Body Blowout.
Right. I love that. Styling cream, unsung hero, a classic core product. And for those of you out there, there are no wrong answers with product. And you know, one of the things that we talk about a lot with product application is think about what you want the product to do and how it's going to perform. And that's how you should choose your products.
Absolutely. Do you have a go-to?
Good old thickening spray. Good old thickening spray. If I need bigger guns or a little bit more hold, I'll hit the roots with your favorite styling cream as well.
Awesome. Cool. And let us know in the comments if you guys have any favorite products that you like to use in your sets as well.
All right, next up we've got hand drying. So the key to any great style, any great look is the hand drying. Super important. We always talk about how the hand drying is intentional. You can see the direction of the nozzle and what she's doing to the hair. She's actually going in and setting the root, getting her lift, and starting to get root direction. So it's carried all throughout the head shape from the top, mid-shaft, and you can also even see in the back of the head on the third image on the right, she's even starting to get lift and movement as much as possible.
Yeah, and I think it's really important just to start placing the hair where you want to see it live and let it cool it there. That's going to really cut down on your finishing time. So hand drying is one of the most important things that we do, in my opinion.
Agreed. It sets you up for the whole style. And I also feel like you don't have to struggle, and you're starting to get a feel of the person's head shape and root direction and where you need to, put in the work.
Absolutely.
All right, so after your hand drying, we are going to start sectioning out for the top. What's super important is that your sections are, of course, clean, organized, and thoughtful throughout the head shape. You can see in the first image, she's using the round brush, and she's actually measuring or placing, is a better way to say it, placing where she's going to be putting in the curls and where she's going to have it sit on the head shape, right? Kind of the worst thing for me when I was learning this was not being clean enough and not getting my sections mapped out, or even they're not clean enough and then you start to pull when you start to pin the hair in. Like, we've all been there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just really important to keep that in the brush because you don't want anything falling out the sides and just kind of creating chaos where it's not needed.
Yeah. I also love the last image. You can really see those sections are mapped out and they're diagonally placed so that you can easily find them and pick them up when you go to put in your curls.
I like this image a lot because it also shows how far they push the hand drying and how dry you can get the hair without having it be wet on the end. So I really love this image.
Yeah. All right, so let's break down the top. So when we talk about the top, we're always talking about the roots, midshaft, and ends. And you can see that she's going through hitting the hairline. So we've started to work the hairline in the hand dry. Now we're just going to lightly use the nozzle and heat up that root and start preparing for the rolling of the brush. So when we talk about the partial set or the full set, anytime you're doing a curl that's going to be pinned, we talk about a rolling motion from roots, midshaft, and ends. And we want to avoid tugging or pulling, really using that brush to start to form the shape of the curl.
Yeah. And also noticing that the nozzle is going with the brush, never at the brush. I think that that's something that we really try to stress. Just because if you're going at the brush, you're just putting a lot of heat into one section of the hair. So you want to use that nozzle as a guide to push it around that brush.
Yeah, let the tension from the pressure of the dryer help you out and do some of the work. All right, pinning. So we formed our curl. We are going to start setting the curl and pinning it into shape. Again, you can see that first curl that is forming. You can see the root lift. You can see the nice shine and the grain of the hair. And she's controlling the way she's pinning and looping it around into the center, getting ready to place that pin onto the scalp and the curl.
Instant gratification, that one. And also pinning on base, you know, making sure that you're giving yourself room to get into that next section.
All right, so here's a look at our curls on the top of the head. And I love the second image because you can see how neat she's being with her curls. And Brittany, just to speak to what you were saying about the direction of the nozzle, you can see that the nozzle is going around the curl and it's not disturbing the curl in front of it. So, you know, to your point, if your nozzle is going into the curl, what you often get is a backflash of air, and then your curl that you work so hard on in front of it starts to get frizzy and sometimes loses its shape, right? So nozzle placement is super important to keep you clean and keep you moving.
A question we get asked a lot is, why do we start on the top and not on the bottom? And I think that the best way to answer that is just to really understand that by setting the top first, you're creating that volume and letting that set the longest, so the volume will stay longer. By starting at the bottom and working your way to the top, you're putting wet hair on top of the curl that you already did, dampening it. So this way, it's just kind of going in a nice pattern where wet hair is never laying on top of the thing that you just worked so hard to do.
Good point. All right, so we've started on this top. Now we're moving into the side section in front of the ear. You can start to see these sections come together. Again, the section is measured out or placed with the brush. You can see that's everything in front of the ear. You can see that in the second slide on the top. And I think the most important thing through the side, you can see in the third slide, is again, she's using her round brush to see how many curls she's going to put there. Everybody's density is a little bit different. Some people can take 3 curls on the side. Some people can take 2 curls on the side. So you want to map out that your size of the section is the same. So you don't have a wide one and then a very narrow one at the bottom, right?
Absolutely. Looks can be deceiving. For me, it's like I have so much hair, but then on the sides, it's like, oh, it's just one section. Okay, just get that done.
All right, so moving along, that side section is getting placed with the curls using the round brush. Again, thinking about heating up the roots, heating up the mid, heating up the ends in a round circular motion.
Also taking into consideration like the angles and the direction that she's holding it. She's not over directing it up on the sides. You know, unless you're doing the 80s look, which there's a time and place for that, you know, you kind of want to let that sit at a more natural height. So her elevation is coming straight out from the head at the bottom, so it's not going to create that kind of winged out look.
Right.
Oh, it's beautiful. And there she is, that full set. The biggest takeaway from this image for me is just the finish and how you can see the shine. It's clean. There's no flyaways. And you can also see the sectioning, which is a real testament to how she kept her section super clean.
Yes, this looks beautiful. It's not overworked. You can see all of the curls have a nice, even placement. And I think the most important thing is that each section has root lift. All right, so we put all of our curls in, we're taking the pins out, and the next thing is the brush out. I think for a long time I struggled with the brush out, of how much to brush it out. You know, again, I think it all depends on how much the person's, how curly they get, right? So if you look at the first image, like that's almost like, you know, really wiggy. It's going to take a lot to brush that out. Whereas somebody that maybe doesn't take a curl as well, you still want to brush those curls out. And like someone once told me, the curls and the painting is just the work. Once you take the pins out, you still need to style, right?
Absolutely. This is one of my favorite parts to do, especially when we're teaching, because it always freaks people out when you like spend all that time trying to get a curl in and then you just take a brush to it. But the beauty is that if you've done it correctly and gotten all the moisture out and used the appropriate amount of products, it's going to stay. It's going to come back. But you also do need to brush it out so you get rid of that sectioning. You don't want her to be walking out in the wind blows and then all of a sudden you see her section. So you do want to marry all that together and brush it out.
Yeah, all of these are great images of the brush out from start to end. All right, and next we'll talk about signature and finishing. I think the other thing that took me a long time to learn was, you know, once you brush it out and started to get it into place, you also want to put your finishing touches or your signature on it, right? And I think there's, you know, you look at the first slide, you know, there's nothing wrong with going back in with the blow dryer and resetting the front to how you want that to look. These are all finishing details that really bring your style together.
Do you have a specific finish that you do?
I do like a side part. I like a middle part. Sometimes it just takes me a minute to, one, see how they like to wear it, and then really just to look and see what looks good, right?
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, so here is our classic round brush blow dry. Again, the amount of curl and the amount of wave depends on what products you use, how well the person takes a curl, and don't be afraid to go back in and refine and finish, whether it's using your hands, whether it's using a blow dryer, or maybe it's changing the texture with another product, right? So when we think about using another product, when you think about what you want the finish to look like, you know, you choose a product to either change the texture or change something about it. So it's still thoughtful of what products you'll use.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, do you need a little bit more hold? Do you need a bit more shine? Is it too shiny? Like, it's all about like just picking what kind of mood the hair is in.
All right, so we went through the technique. Let's look at some references. Again, so here is the full set. You can see the body. You can still see some of the curl left in. It looks like her hair isn't as bouncy as our curl in the slides, but you can see all of the components of the round brush set. And, the other thing that I've kind of learned over the years is, it doesn't always have to be full set pageant looking, right? To me, this reference looks like an advanced blow dry, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it looks a little bit more everyday rather than photo shoot.
All right, here's another one. Great. You can see the body, you can see the bend. One of the things I think about this image is, for someone that wants to keep more bend in their hair than maybe a regular salon blowout would give, the set is a great option for that because you can still keep all of that curl in.
Yeah, and this image for me just kind of hits home with the ends. Like, you're still polishing the ends, so you're going through it and still creating the bend. Sometimes I feel like when we teach, we get a lot of people that are scared to put too much heat on the ends because they're going to lose the bounce or the bend in it, and that's not necessarily the truth. So for this image, like, I can really see how they followed through on the ends and just really created that smooth texture.
Yeah, and they gave her, they changed the parting around. They gave her a side part.
Yeah, it's party. it's a party part.
All right, let's see all of these techniques in action. All right, so here is our model. You can see the texture of her hair, right? So it looks like she's got some movement to it. Generally speaking, it lays on the flatter side. I think this technique is a great way to start building body in her hair. So let's see what Christian is starting with, right? So first he has the prep, kind of a all over soft hair primer, going in with thickening Go Big treatment. There's the styling cream. And I love the way that he is blending all of the products together. So he doesn't just put them in and let them sit in. He's working them through. He's blending them together.
And you can really see how that styling cream is already taking form in the hair, in the roots.
Yeah, look at that hand dry. You can already see, I mean, for her, like, that's a lot of volume through the top. So it's already starting to happen.
Yeah, and you can see he's also neutralizing any type of hair pattern or, how the sides can kind of curl out. So any type of baby hair, he's really addressing those in his hand dry.
Yeah, that's a key thing to work on, right, is to neutralize growth patterns. So like you said, that, once they leave the chair, their hair doesn't split, or worse, you have a loss of volume.
Right.
All right, here's our top section. There is the roll using the nozzle to wrap around the brush.
You can see he's using his 2 fingers because that's similar to the circumference of the brush. So you're not trying to wrap the hair tighter than what the brush actually was shaping. And also just Christian did film these pre-COVID, so that is why we're not seeing masks and stuff. So these are old videos. Just to let you guys know that. Look at those clean sections.
All right, moving right along, right, that top section into the side. He's got his sides done. Again, mapping out where he is going to be placing those. And then also notice his elevation when he is blow drying. The elevation's high on the head to keep that volume. Look at that set.
Look at it. Those bouncy curls. When we're talking about products too, I forgot to mention Does It All is a great one for this because it's so moldable.
Classic go-to. All right, looks like he used a little bit of grooming cream, right? Probably for a little bit of finish and to make it a little bit more lived in. There she is.
Looks beautiful.
What a difference from the before and after.
She got the party part.
She sure did. She got the party part. So let's take a minute. Let's look at the chats, right? So if you guys have any questions, any comments about what you just saw, or your favorite tips and techniques for when you are doing the round brush set, let's hear them. Put them in the comments. And excuse me. So let's debrief this. We talked about product application. We talked about hand drying. We talked about sectioning through the top, putting in our curls, mapping it out, making sure everything is clean, pinning on base, and brushing out those curls and using a signature and finishing look, right?
Right. Nailed it. Roy, so when you're in the salon, how often do you think you do a full or partial set?
I like to do a partial. I feel like I get a lot of bang for the buck with the partial. I can get the volume, and when we move into the next segment, we'll talk about how to still get lots of movement through the mid shaft and ends on the once you work down the head shape. But I feel like these fundamental techniques have really served me well over the years to get lift.
Yeah. And I feel like the more you do them, the faster you get at them. So it doesn't really seem like it's taking too much time up in your appointment. It's one of my favorite things to do, just because I feel like when you're in New York and people are running around all day, you kind of want hair that stays throughout all the elements of the city. So it's one of my favorite things to finish with. You
mentioned time. How long does it take you to do a round brush set?
Roy. Okay, first of all, you know I'm quick.
You are quick.
It probably, for long hair, it probably takes me 10 to 12 minutes.
That is amazing. See, it's all about the practice, right?
Yeah. Do you recommend a product for those whose hair does not hold curl or volume? That's a good question, Hannah.
Yeah. I think it's evaluating the texture, the finished look, and how much hold that person, or how much product that person can take, right? I think the products that we mentioned, styling cream is a great one because you can get a lot of hold without a lot of product, or you can use more product from the styling cream and really pump up the texture using these techniques. With the way that the nozzle is placed, you can really get that product in, let it set, and steam that product out. So I think styling cream is a good one. What do you think, Brett?
Styling cream was my gut choice. I know that when you think of a cream, it seems like it's going to be heavy and it's going to weigh the hair down, but this one expands so much and gives you so much dense volume that it helps with the hold. If they need a little bit extra, you could cocktail it where it's like maybe a styling cream at the root and then pull thickening spray through the ends, because that thickening spray also has a lot of memory, so that will also have some hold. So it just kind of depends on how much hair they have, because if it's a lot of hair and it's being weighed down because of the weight of the hair, then maybe I'd go for something like the Great Body blow dry cream, where that's going to help pick it up. But if it's like finer hair that just doesn't want to hold anything, I would go more for the styling cream and thickening spray combo. Does that answer
Brittany?
Hannah? What?
Brittany, I'm glad that you mentioned the application and where to put it, because in my mind, I was thinking about the hairline. I'm glad that you broke that down, that just because you use styling cream on the roots doesn't mean you have to use it all over. And I think thickening spray is a great way to still get some hold in and still get some workability and get that time down on that round brush set.
You bet. You can also use the blow dry accelerator to cut down on some time. Awesome, Hannah. Awesome middle name, Hannah. Love it.
All right, so let's move into the round brush blow dry partial set. All right, so again, here's our partial set. Lift at the root, lived in, a little bit more relaxed, depending on the products that you choose and your technique. I I feel like this is like you could pump it up, or you can make it a little bit more soft.
Yeah. This I love this look just because it's a little bit more your everyday, like I'm done but undone, put a little effort in but kind of look like I woke up this way type thing, which is one of my favorite looks. Like I don't like to look too done because then I feel like everybody's looking at me like, where are you going? So I do like the partial set in the sense that it kind of can look a little bit more lived in, but still have all the volume of the full.
Sabrina is asking, do you ever use cool air to set the root?
I personally do, not at the time of the set. Like I don't do the curl and then hit it again. What I usually like to do is complete the full set, and then I have a mesh sock diffuser that I'll kind of put cold air over the top of just to make sure that everything's cooled down and set, but that mesh diffuser won't blow the curl out. So I do that on like a low setting and just kind of put cold air on top of it. But I do that all over, not necessarily just the root. How about you, Roy?
Well, Brittany, that's a great tip to make sure that everything is cooled off and dry and the product's out before you start taking down the pins. I love that tip. Do I use a cool air to set the root? I don't use a cool air to set the root. I rely on the rolling technique, and when I take the brush out, by the time I'm not as fast as you, by the time I put my curl in, that's kind of cooling for me. So I try to work a little bit quicker so that you don't want those roots to dry straight. You want to keep them in the form of the curl. So for me, I try to keep everything moving. So for me to use the cool air, nothing wrong with it. It just slows me down. But Brittany, I love your tip.
Yeah. Also, just not sure if this was part of the question, but I always use high heat, high speed when I'm working. I don't ever only use cool air. I only use cool air to finish. And that also comes into like a time thing. Like if I'm in a hurry, that's when I'll do that trick. But if I have time to just let it sit, or if I'm doing an event where they're getting married and they're going to get their makeup done, I'll just leave it in and let it cool naturally. But cool air I only use as a finisher, never as like a full blow dry.
Great. Sabrina, hope that helps.
The one time I did try that, it took a long time.
All right, so here's some images from our partial set. Again, so everything that we saw in the full set, we are setting the top and the perimeter around the sides, just so that you can build in that volume. Everything below the crown is still using the roots, midshaft, and ends, still building body. And the difference is, instead of pinning, it's a twist out. So it's twisted like you're going to pin it. It's just not pinned. All right, so here, what's that?
I kind of like both images. It's like very I went to the beach, and then very smooth on the other one.
Yes, and one is a little bit more smooth. The other one is a little undone. I think at the time that these were shot, Surf Infusion had just launched, so I'm guessing that is some Surf Infusion in there to break it down. It's interesting though, because even though it's broken down with product, you still see the root lift from the technique.
Mm-hmm. And that is a real testament to product application too. Like just because you're adding something doesn't mean you have to put it everywhere. So you can tell that it's mid-shaft to ends and nothing on disrupting the volume on the roots.
All right, again, let's look at some references. I like this one a lot. Really pretty volume. She's got some wave left in. I like that movement around her face. I think this is a really good reference for this partial set.
I agree, and I also love how the movement of the set brings out the color. that was done.
Yes.
It's a real team effort.
All right, a little smoother version, right? Again, so again, I always think of this look as, you know, this girl, like maybe she likes to get a blow dry once a week or every other week, and she likes it smooth. She likes a little kick left in so that her blow dry lasts her till the next time you can do it. That side party part, movement, shape.
Yeah, this one, the reason why I think that this would always be a partial set is because she looks like she has a lot of hair, and it looks like it takes a lot of time. Like, it looks like her head is a bit smaller than the amount of hair that she has, so she probably has a ton of density in there, and to go through and set the whole thing would probably take ages. But just by doing the top partial really gives her that volume without having that weight of the hair pulling it down. So it just looks like she has a lot of hair to me. So a partial part is really going to help keep the volume long term, because this is definitely the texture of hair I would recommend not washing every day. So hopefully that would help her longevity of it.
Nice. All right, so let's see the partial in action. Here's our model. Again, when you look at her texture, we really want to build up that crown. You know, even looking at the length isn't very long. I think she's a great candidate for the partial so that you really can get a look out of her hair, right? Maybe if you just had a regular blow dry, it might just look like a long bob, but the partial is really going to make it finished and give her lots of shape.
Yeah. It also looks like maybe the partial is going to help with hold on her hair. Like maybe it doesn't have a lot of natural hold, so it falls flat quickly. Especially since he's now using prep, that kind of tells me that she needs a little extra lift in her hair.
Yeah, and the Go Big treatment, it will plump up the hairline. Now he's going through with thickening spray for added hold.
Thickening spray is definitely one of my favorite products. Just the scent of it, it's like very nostalgic to me.
It's classic.
You can just see like how much cream he just put in his hand. It wasn't a lot, but a little bit goes a long ways. So it's all about prescribing what's right for the person sitting in front of you. Look at all that volume he's already got.
Definitely getting a reaction out of her hair, measuring the top. So still all of the same techniques that we just talked about in the full set still apply to the top. And that crisscross so that you can just pick them up and see where his sections are.
Also, he addressed the bang first, you know, like something that's going to be a focal point that she's going to be staring at. He really let that sit where it's going to live. So as the client is sitting there, she's not looking at her hair being blown all over the place. She's kind of getting a view of what the finished product is going to look like.
Yeah, she looks great sitting in the mirror. I think also for us, the stylist, it also gives you, like you said, the frame to the style so you can see where you're going with your look.
And look at how that's just standing up on its own.
That's when you know the curl's good, when it stands up on its own.
Yep.
The Does It All is light enough to give you a little extra hold, some texture, but not heavy enough to make those curls crunchy.
Mm-hmm. Also, just because you use Does It All doesn't mean that when you're finished, you can't swap out and use something stronger if needed too.
Yeah, when we talk about products, we're always talking about layering and building. So either building a texture up or changing the texture. I love the way that he just sectioned all that out and that midsection is clean away. So you're not fighting putting those curls in or that twist out.
I also think that the cleaner the sections are, and the more you map out the process, the faster everything goes. You're not having to like put the dryer down and like resection anything out. So it really creates like a consistency in how you're moving. I like her hair color too.
Mm-hmm. Really working on that finish. I love that he changed it a couple of ways just to see what looks good.
Yeah.
And adding thickening cream contour, a great product to add definition without losing the volume.
Absolutely. It's also great to smooth out any flyaways that you might see.
Yeah.
And steam.
Again, just to debrief, so the partial set is the crown and the halo around the sides. All of the same techniques are followed throughout the head shape, and you will be getting root lift and twisting out using your brush in a round motion. All the things that we talked about, making sure that you are not killing the volume, that you're not pulling, and that really you are working the roots, midshaft, and ends.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, if you guys have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Otherwise, please follow us at Bumble and Bumble and Bumble Pro on Instagram, and let us know what you guys want to see, and if you enjoyed this, keep in touch.
All right, Brittany, I want to thank you so much. Thanks for going through round brush and the partial. It's always good to see you. It's always great to work with you, and I can't wait till we're live and in person.
I know. It's always good to see you, Roy.
Bye, Brittany.
All right. Bye. Bye, guys. Thanks for joining.